Hi everybody, and welcome to a Pixelated Geeks recap of Nintendo's Direct E3 2014 presentation. They just wrapped up about 30 minutes ago, and we watched a good bit of the after show, which was interesting to say the least. All in all, pretty good show.
I was expecting it to suck.
Yeah.
Usually it's one of these, I will focus on Microsoft, Sony, and maybe the other big shows, and I'll maybe catch up on Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really wanted to just put time aside for it, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, this was an important year for them. I mean, the Wii U hasn't sold incredibly well. It's not really a very competitive console on the whole, and they really needed to kill it. The 3DS is obviously doing well and will continue to do so, so they're not in any financial trouble. But just from a sort of a legitimacy perspective, I think Nintendo really needed to hammer this year home. And they did. They really did. They started out with some footage of the lead developer of Smash Brothers, which has now gotten a release date. I actually wrote that down, 10/3/14. Is that correct? Did I write that down without...
That's for the 3DS version.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Okay,
and then Wii U is Holiday 2014.
So we'll get it this year. They did confirm that. They showed a decent amount of gameplay from it, just showed the sort of continuing development they're doing on it.
Well, they started it with a toy, too, which we'll get to later, and playing with a Mii.
Yes, absolutely. So initially, their first announcement about it was that your Miis will be playable characters. The Miis are essentially skins for 3 different archetypes of control. There was a brawler character,
a ranged character,
that essentially had a Mega Man style cannon on its arm, and then
the other one had a weapon. It was like a sword, like they call it a Link.
Right. So archetypal characters will control that way, but it's nice. I mean, putting the Miis in the game is a way for Nintendo to continue pushing that ecosystem. So immediately after that, they showed figures, and they did, as you mentioned, they started the conference off with a figure that looks very much like the trophies that you could collect in the previous Smash Brothers titles. And they held the figure up to the little small rectangle on the Wii U pad that I think most of us had forgotten had any functionality whatsoever.
Unless you bought that one Pokemon game for those little figurines,
right.
But I don't think anybody really did.
No, I don't think so either. I had forgotten that was a thing. There were a lot of times where I would be using it and go, what is that again? I would rub my finger over it, what does this do? Is this a sensor? It is a sensor. Nintendo has announced something called the Amiibo. The Amiibo are, for all intents and purposes, toys to life with Nintendo branding underneath it. Toys to life is a new license to print money concept that has spurred titles like Skylanders and Disney Infinity. Which I'm sure everyone is infinitely familiar with. But these are Nintendo specific.
And allowing the Skylanders and the Infinity to gain benefits specifically for Nintendo products.
Yeah, Nintendo will let you put their Amiibo in Skylanders and Infinity titles in some way, shape, or form. They may not be playable, but they will definitely have a benefit. You can tag them into your Smash Brothers. You can use them with Mario Kart. You can use them with...
Well, these are for Nintendo ones that we know of, not like the Infinity or Skylanders.
Right,
I'm not saying that you can have Sully play Mario Kart. But.
Right. But so you can essentially take the Amiibos and you can put them into a lot of Nintendo's upcoming first-party titles, which is a huge deal. The Toys to Life market is financially insane. It's not something I participate in, but what Nintendo did very intelligently with this, these have functionality across many titles, including third-party titles, and are Nintendo-themed. So that's one of those things. You slap Mario on something, you make $1 million. And this cross-functionality, I'll buy one.
I mean, they look really well made.
They do.
I always thought the Infinity toys looked the best, and now these are you can put them on a shelf and call it a day.
They're very clean-looking figures. They really are. They look really nice, and the fact that you can tag them into multiple Nintendo games and that they're your favorite Nintendo characters. They showed Mario, they showed Luigi, they showed Peach, they showed Kirby, they showed Link and Zelda, and Samus, and who am I leaving out? Pikachu.
And somebody else. I think it was...
Yeah, I mean, it's your favorite franchise characters, and they'll be usable in Nintendo games, and that's huge. Yoshi.
I want it.
Also Yoshi. It looks adorable. I mean, it's called what? Yoshi. What was the
Woolly World?
Yoshi Woolly World. Adorable. It's a Yoshi title along the lines of Kirby's Epic Yarn,
which is one of the best games on the Wii.
Absolutely. You can disassemble the environment around you. You have yarn-based abilities. It's a low-intensity, low-challenge 2D platformer, and it's so cute. It's another one of Nintendo's I'll buy that games. Great work. Looks phenomenal. Then they cut to a title that was sort of familiar looking to anyone that's played Super Mario 3D World, which was Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. Yeah. For those of you that played Super Mario 3D World's Toad levels, essentially you had the ability to allow... You navigated Toad through an environment. You didn't control him directly, but you would manipulate the area to make it easier for him to get through. And it looked really fun. I mean, it was essentially an entire game built around those levels, with extra challenges and boss fights thrown in. So I don't know how big a title it's going to be, but it certainly looks viable.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Nintendo first-party stuff. They showed a Zelda! They showed an open-world Zelda! They showed a huge, gorgeous-looking Vista, Link on his horse, with, 3D rendered everything. Gorgeous particle effects. You saw a day-to-night cycle in the shot, and then an enemy that looked incredibly intense.
Well, it reminded me, too, like, when they first announced Skyrim, do you remember when Todd Howard's like, you see that mountain? You can go climb that mountain. They pretty much did that. They're like, do you see that mountain? You can go there. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I will. Oh, I will too. I will buy that game hard. It looks amazing. I mean, the art style was gorgeous. It was sort of a continuation of the direction they were going with Skyward Sword. A little bit less in the oil painting kind of thing that they were doing, but Link looked badass and had big explosive arrows, and I don't know what that thing at the end was, but that looked nasty.
Yeah.
Like, we'll link the trailer. It looked amazing. 2015 as well.
Right.
And that...
Which is pretty close for a Zelda game to be announced and then to be like, that's next year.
It really is. And that, my initial instinct is, what does that mean we see more of it in 2015, or does that mean it releases in 2015? And hopefully it releases, because everything else that had a number indicated it was a release date. It looked amazing. Nothing else to say. Showed Pokemon Sapphire and Ruby, which... I mean, looks like a big step up for their franchise. They didn't dwell on it, but they don't need to.
It's Pokemon. Print money.
Yeah, it's going to sell. And it looked neat. It did. They showed Bayonetta 2, which is now shifted to... There was a release date for that, wasn't there?
I think it's October as well.
Yeah.
Everything's in October.
That sounds about right. Go ahead.
Nintendo's just going to take all the money in October, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bayonetta 2 is now... a 2-pack with the first Bayonetta with exclusive Nintendo content as well as Bayonetta 2, which looks to be just more of the same, which is crazy, violent, over-the-top, satirical, hack-and-slash action. I have a lot of faith in that. I like Platinum as a developer. I think they make really solid hack-and-slash titles. Here's hoping. It's good. And the fact that it comes with both games is really actually a great move on their part, I think. Especially for those of us that didn't beat the first one the first time around. I loved it. I loved what I played of it. I just didn't get all the way through it. But yeah, that looks really good. They segued to Hyrule Warriors, which was heretofore I think it was Japanese exclusive. I don't know if there's any other region code it was in. But it is coming out in the North American region code on the 26th of September. So that's another one of those late September, early October, go ahead, take my money releases. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, Hyrule Warriors is a Dynasty Warriors style hack and slash. And the characters were...
You had Princess from Twilight.
Yes, Midna.
You had Link, Zelda, and another... can't remember her name. Link
and Zelda and Impa.
Impa, yeah.
Yeah, who is Zelda's bodyguard. The person that essentially turns her into Sheik. They only announced 4 definite playable characters, but they did say that they would be announcing more later. Here's hoping that you can play as Sheik. That would be excellent. Maybe some villain characters would be nice.
And they have boss fights, which is kind of new.
Yeah, new-ish.
The Dynasty Warrior games, they always had the big guy you could fight, but this was more of like a Zelda-style boss.
Yeah, they're really trying to cross the streams of the of the franchises and do so in a way that is authentic to both. This is the first Dynasty Warriors game I will buy. I will buy it.
Last one I bought was in like 2003.
Yeah, and the games have been the exact same ever since then. They haven't changed at all. The next title they showed was Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, and that was kind of unusual because they showed it only through the actual Wii U gamepad. I'm actually pointing at a Wii U gamepad. You can't see that. That was a waste of your time, but it's right there, I promise. Essentially, they showed Kirby being maneuvered through the atmosphere by swipes of the stylus. You could create a path for him to go through. It looked a lot like the previous Kirby title.
There was the one on the DS originally that was like the something caverns or something like that.
Okay, I did not play that.
It was a long time ago.
But it essentially maneuvering Kirby in a 3D environment using lines drawn on the stylus. So, I mean, with the stylus on the pad. Looks interesting. I want to say it looks like a download title, but that's only because it was shown on the Wii U pad. Yeah. We didn't see big screen footage of it, so we'll see. That was actually sort of a running theme. It's kind of hard to tell what was what and what the intention behind it was.
Robot Chicken?
Yeah. So we were talking yesterday about how you structure a conference and how you don't, and you don't do it like Ubisoft. But you can have a media tie-in and make it work. Robot Chicken did a lot of the transitions between the different sequences, and I mean, because it was Robot Chicken, it was hilarious, and it worked because it wasn't over the top. It was all on point, and it didn't feel forced. So I guess the trick is actually be funny. Have good writers that write things well. Yeah. That's the trick.
Yeah.
And then talk to me about the rumor that had been circulating for a little while.
Which one? There are many rumors.
The Mario
Maker?
Yeah.
Yeah, there had been rumors about this game where it was almost, I think, Little Big Planet, but with the Mario universe, and that was shown, and they showed it as, playing, looks like the original Super Mario Brothers, and all of a sudden it kind of paused, and the warp pipe was moved.
Yeah.
And then you could switch to the new Super Mario Brothers style as well.
Yeah.
And they're just showing you could just create all these different things and switch, and it's kind of like that moment like with the Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary where you could hit a button and it would change the graphics. And
yeah.
I think it's genius. I think it might be a download. It seems like it's going to be like a downloadable or something like that.
It didn't look very big. It was another one of the titles that was shown only on essentially the pad.
I'm excited because it's one of those, you play a Mario game and you're like, I've done this course so many times, I can do it. I bet I could create something else.
Yeah. It's just a really solid concept. You can essentially pause the play. You can move the enemies around on the map to a limited degree, or at least befuddle them. You can add in new geometry. You can move the geometry of the map around so that you can essentially get through it. And it looks like some of the levels are going to be puzzle-based, where you have to do that in order to complete the level. But in some ways, you can just do it just to do it over the course of the game, and you can switch between... I don't know if it switched between 2 things or 3 things. I don't know if it was between original graphics, DS graphics, and like the new Super Mario Brothers or those, the New Super Mario Brothers or New Super Mario Brothers U graphics, but it was hopping between different Mario engines. I'll be interested to see how many of those there are, but it certainly looked fascinating. I'm very excited for that. That looks like a really cool idea. And we talked about this for a little bit during the stream. Nintendo isn't in the best position with third-party developers it's ever been. They're actually having a lot of trouble getting third-party developers to develop for them. So we're seeing a lot of these more innovative titles. We're seeing games like Hyrule Warriors, which I don't think we would have seen a while ago.
Nintendo would have let somebody else touch their IP.
Right, and Bandai Namco is developing Smash Brothers. That's another point of note. The Xenoblade Chronicles that they showed, that's pulling a franchise just out of nowhere, like out of forever ago. So Mario Maker sort of is another shift in this direction. This is a different thing for them to do. It doesn't feel like huge, monolithic, super successful Nintendo. And they segued into a piece that I think was maybe not the most exciting, but the most interesting thing that we saw during the presentation, which was called Splatoon.
Which I thought was Mario Sunshine because they showed the squids, but I was wrong.
Right,
but still happy with what it was.
Right, and essentially a 4v4 competitive third-person multiplayer shooter.
A Nintendo shooter.
Yeah,
what they'll call a shooter.
Because there's a thing that you're shooting something out of, but it's not violent. You have a ink gun because you are a squid. You are a anthropomorphic squid. You can either walk around or switch into squid form. You shoot paint on the environment around you, on the geometry, and once paint is on that geometry, you can switch into squid form and swim through it really quickly. You can swim up walls, up inclines, through your area, and your entire team has one color of paint. The other team has a different color of paint. The objective is essentially to cover. That's what I got from it.
Next amount of time, cover the map.
Yeah, have the most paint on the most geometric objects in a span of time. When you are a squid, you can move through your paint. When you hit theirs, you go to human, like the anthropomorphized squid form, and you get stuck in their ink, and you move really slowly through it. There were different weapons. There was a gun.
Brush.
Yeah.
There's
a big roller brush that you could move,
yeah.
Like you could run around. It felt kind of like a vehicle.
Like paint grenades, something that looked like a giant bomb.
Yeah, it looked like a paint nuke. It was a huge swirling vortex of paint. There was also a paint bazooka, for lack of a better term. It looked incredibly fun. It looked really innovative. It doesn't look like the sort of thing you would normally see in a Nintendo console, and that was the sort of segue that we were leading with. Nintendo is having to innovate. They're being forced to.
Not on their terms, where they say this is the future. They're allowing other people to do that for them, which is something they never really let happen.
Right.
So if it didn't come from Miyamoto and it didn't come from somebody else, it's
they're partnering with people because they have to. The developers that are hungry and interested are working for them, and doing really exciting, interesting, different things. It's a really interesting time to be a fan of Nintendo. But in short, they're not continuing to throw effort after foolishness. Like Nintendo, I think, is aware that it's in sort of a thorny position, and this Nintendo Direct conference didn't really get bogged down in that, but they showed stuff, and new stuff, and interesting stuff.
And stuff we wouldn't expect.
Right. Absolutely. Like, I would never have guessed, if you had shown me footage from Splatoon, I would have guessed that it would have been
a Steam release.
Yeah, a $15 or $20 Steam download, not on a Nintendo console. The stuff that they've been doing, the blowing the Captain Toad's game into a full game that's interesting. That's different. I don't think they would have taken a risk on that a little while ago. The Yarn Yoshi game, maybe, but it looks amazing. It's the sort of thing they need for the Wii U. The Zelda was inevitable, but the fact that they're cranking on it and we're going to get it in 2015 doesn't feel like Nintendo. Like Nintendo, I feel like would normally be like, you'll get this when you get it. It might be 5 years. Yeah. Just they're doing smart, they're doing interesting things, and they're reaching back into their history, which is something they really need to do. I mean, again, Xenoblade Chronicles, nobody's talked about one of those games in forever. And speaking of games that no one's talked about in forever, there was a leaked video earlier today of Miyamoto.
It was a picture.
It was a picture. That's right. It was a picture of Miyamoto doing something on the floor. He was holding a Wii U pad, and you could see in the background, you could see ground and sky, and something in the middle of the sky. And at the end, they cut away, like the conference is over, and then like sort of move into a boardroom, and you see like a guy in a chair holding a Wii U pad, and it turns around, and it's Miyamoto. And he was playing...
You should say it. I think you want to say it.
I might say
How bad do you want to say it?
Pretty bad.
Just say it.
Star Fox! There's a new Star Fox, and it's on the Wii U, and it is a flight sim. I mean, it's flying. You can see blurry footage in the background. It's definitely it. We zoomed in on the photo. It's playable on the show floor. There is a Star Fox that is coming to the Wii U, which is a perfect fit. Because that thing, the Wii U pad, you throw your HUD there, and it's like...
Or just the mini-map and just have it ping up enemies for you.
Right. There's so many things you can do with that, but that feels like a flight yoke. You know? Like, They showed a new Zelda, which we knew was coming, but we had never seen anything on, and a Star Fox. And they showed it in the same conference, and they did it in 45 to 50 minutes. To be honest with you, I really think Nintendo just killed this year.
Yeah.
They don't spend too much time on the Smash Brothers and the Pokemon because they know they don't need to. But Smash Brothers, Pokemon, the Yarn Yoshi, the Zelda, and Mario Maker are all... You're definitely going to buy those games. Like, those are the kind of games Nintendo fans are going to buy. The Star Fox is going to be amazing. Hyrule Warriors is going to be the first Dynasty Warriors game I ever buy. Nintendo just showed straight first-party content